it. And I think for a long time there was a misconception, I think there still is, that the youngest generation, Gen Z, prefers to work from home a majority of the time, or prefers to not work at all, right? And so there's this stereotype of us being lazy and entitled and all of the other things. And I think that over time, and the studies have shown that not only does this generation prefer to work in the office part of the time, but we also are actually excelling in the workplace. There's a new study out, and we will cover this, I think, in the next episode more in depth. But essentially, there's a new research study by Deal that came out and said Gen Z is becoming a top priority for employers. 36% say that Gen Z had the lowest percentage of contracts ended by termination of any other generation. So it's clear to me that Gen Zers are becoming a priority for employers, but also there's another news story that's out, and a few of the statistics are really interesting regarding how only 1 in 10 Gen Zers want to work in the office full time. And I think that's pretty consistent with the research that I'm finding, the post-pandemic research that's out there about how many people actually want to work full time in the office. I think it's between 5 to 10%, maybe a little bit less sometimes. But I think that, and then there's these other stats just for reference. So 17% prefer to work from home all the time, which is a pretty big percentage, while 24% want to spend most of their working time at home. So I think there is this experience of work that Gen Z has come into, and I think they're probably their experience, and I speak to a lot of them. So but I think it is that you go into the office and you're not necessarily as productive as you want to be. And for a generation that wants efficiency and values that, and values, their free time and work to live, I think that getting your work done is actually a pretty big priority for us.
Mm. Well, you do value your free time, and my experience of speaking to Gen Zers is that they don't want all the kind of hanging around an office and kind of being unproductive and chatting and doing this and that. Whereas if I think back to when I started work, it was a fairly standard 8 hour day, 9 to 5. And people kind of just filled the time. They expanded what they were doing to fill the hours,
Right.
as opposed to just getting done what they needed to get done, which they possibly
Yeah.
could have got done quicker, and
What
move on to something
what's
else. Because nobody nobody said, well, if you do today's work in 5 hours, you can go home for the other three.
Right. What's that? That's a psychology
Yeah.
philosophy that you expand the amount of time that you're working. But anyway, I think that what's also interesting to me is how people are utilizing their time in the office. And there are a number of different studies. There's a number of different companies doing a lot of research on this. I'm curious what you're hearing from the field, because what I'm hearing is that people are going into the office essentially, we're talking about more of the RTO push, the post RTO era, and many people are sitting on their laptops in Zoom meetings, not really interacting much, maybe having a water cooler conversation.